What if you could actually boost your metabolism just by feeling that tingly sensation of cold, but without ever really getting cold? Well, that is the fascinating, kind of mind-bending idea at the heart of a new study we're breaking down today. So let's get right into the science behind this very, very cool concept.
It sounds a little like science fiction, doesn't it? The idea that you can just rub a cream on your skin and it could actually change how many calories you burn. But believe it or not, that's the exact question a team of researchers set out to investigate. And wow, their findings are pretty remarkable.
Now, to even wrap your head around how this is possible, we first have to talk about a pretty special part of our own bodies that scientists are getting really, really excited about. It's a specific kind of fat that doesn't just store energy, it burns it.
So most of us, when we think of fat, we're thinking of white fat. You can think of it as our body's energy pantry, where we just store extra calories for later. But we also have something called brown adipose tissue, or BAT for short. And this stuff isn't a pantry at all, it's a furnace. Its whole job is to burn energy to create heat. So you can see the potential here, right? If you can figure out how to fire up that furnace, you could seriously ramp up your body's overall energy burn.
And that's been the big question for scientists. How do we flip the on switch for this furnace? I mean, yeah, actually getting cold works, but let's be honest, that's uncomfortable and not really practical for most people. And other drugs that might do it can have all sorts of unwanted side effects. The real trick is finding a safe, targeted way to get that brown fat burning.
And this is where the whole strategy gets really clever. Instead of making the body actually cold, the researchers asked a different question. What if we could just trick its sensors into thinking it's cold? And the key to this whole trick is a very familiar substance.
Meet TRPMA. It's a special receptor in our skin that basically acts like a tiny thermostat. When the temperature around you drops, or, and this is the important part, when it comes into contact with menthol, this little channel opens up and sends a signal straight to the brain that says, "Brr, it's cold in here." So menthol is what scientists call a pharmacological cold mimic. It gives you the sensation of cold without any change in temperature. It's a trick.
And this, right here, is the core idea of the entire study. The researchers thought, hey, if we put a TRPM8 agonist, something like menthol, on the skin, we could trick the brain into kicking on its whole cold defense program. And a huge part of that program is firing up that brown fat furnace to burn more energy.
So, how'd they put this theory to the test? The experiment itself was surprisingly simple, really elegant. Okay, here's what they did. They took two groups of mice. For 15 straight days, one group got a daily schmear of a 10% menthol cream on their backs. The other group, that's our control, they got the exact same cream, just without the menthol. Then the scientists basically sat back and watched, measuring everything you can think of, from how the mice acted to their core body temperature, and of course, their metabolism. So, the million-dollar question, did the trick work? Well, the data from this experiment is pretty clear. The answer is a resounding yes. It absolutely did.
First off, let's look at behavior. The mice with the menthol cream started acting like they were freezing. When they had a choice, they consistently ran to the warmer spots in their enclosure. They also became little master architects, building these incredibly elaborate, super insulated nests to keep warm, way better than the control mice. So on a behavioral level, the cold trick was working perfectly. But this wasn't just in their heads. In response to that phantom chill, their bodies fired up their internal furnaces for real. Get this. By day 15, the actual core body temperature of the menthol-treated mice was significantly higher than the control group. They were literally getting warmer to fight off a cold that wasn't even there. So how did the body do it? Well, scientists looked at the on switch. That's the signal being sent from the brain down to the brown fat. In the menthol group, that signal was a whopping 77% stronger. The brain was basically screaming at the furnace to turn up the heat. And all of this led to the ultimate payoff. The menthol-treated mice were burning significantly more calories, around the clock, than the control mice. The furnace was officially on, and it was burning through fuel like crazy. But wait, the story gets even more interesting. It's not just that the mice were burning more energy, their bodies actually changed the type of fuel they decided to burn. To understand this, you just need to know about something called the respiratory exchange ratio, or RER. Think of it like a fuel gauge for your body. If the gauge is near 1.0, it means your body is running on carbs, like sugar. If the gauge is down near 0.7, it means it's running mostly on fat. Simple as that. So what did the fuel gauge say for our mice? Well, you can see it right here. During their active nighttime phase, the menthol mice showed this really clear shift. Their RER dropped, meaning they were burning a much bigger proportion of fat to fuel all that extra heat they were making. They were tapping directly into their fat stores.
And other evidence just sealed the deal. After 15 days, scans showed that the brown fat in the menthol mice was actually taking up less sugar. But at the exact same time, the genes that are responsible for bringing fatty acids into the cells to be burned were way more active. The body had literally rewired its own logistics to stop using sugar and start prioritizing fat as its go-to fuel.
Okay, so this is a really compelling proof of concept. It's an incredible story, but what's the big takeaway here? And, where does this research go now?
All right, let's recap. We've learned that a simple menthol cream successfully tricked mice into feeling cold. This, in turn, activated their energy-burning brown fat, which made them burn more calories and shift their bodies to use more fat for fuel. It's really pointing to a whole new way we could think about influencing metabolism. But, and this is the really, really important part to stress, these are early results, and this was a study in mice. A lot more research has to be done to see if this could ever work safely and effectively for people.
Still, this research opens up such an exciting question for the future. By finding these clever ways to trick our body's own systems, could we one day learn to harness our own internal furnace as a new tool for managing metabolic health? It's a pretty cool thought, and you can bet that scientists are going to be chasing this one for a while.